All right, Shalom, Yasharala, Shalom, giving all praises, honor, and glory to our power, Yahweh, Baha Hashem, Yahweh Shah, Baha Hashem, Rachak, Wadaj, double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders, a great millstone. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect of the tabernacles of David, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, wherever you may be, Shalom, Yasharala, Shalom. We're going to get to a little quick lesson here, moving over to the Passover. With all these different things that transpired over these past week or so. Mostly began with the Al-Azhar situation, and then other things, which we're not hinging on that. But also speaking on something I spoke about at camp. I'm not sure when it was. Maybe it was the weekend, or I don't think it was yesterday. But anyways, to get to the point. So well, you have the Passover coming up, which you got the average person in the world. They don't know about Easter, right? Easter bunnies laying eggs, some made up stuff. But we're heading into the Passover, all right? Which the Passover is a solemn assembly, which is why I have this here on the screen. Joel 2:15 says, blow the trumpet in Zion, all right? Sanctify a fast, call a solemn assembly. When you get the word solemn assembly, all right, bear with it. It comes up as Atazarah, all right? Atazarah. And it says assembly, solemn assembly. All right, assemblage, companies, assembly. See, sacred or festive meeting. Okay, sacred or festive meeting. Now, when it says festive, don't get thrown off. Like this is the time of jumping for leaping for joy. We have holidays like that. Okay, holy days like that. Okay, Purim, feast of dedication. All right, these are victories over our enemies. This Passover is not one of those celebratory holy days. Now, it was victory over our enemies, but it wasn't the actual celebration because we got victory over. Because at this point, we were still in Egypt. Okay, we were on edge, at the edge of our seats. All right, we didn't know what the hell was gonna, happen next. And we were waiting for the Lord to make His move. All right, and we were given a commandment to hold a solemn feast, a solemn assembly, all right, of the Passover. And going back to what I mentioned, speaking on about camp, I'm not, well, I mean, at camp, I meant, but speaking on these different, groups out here who they take the Lord's, Passover and they make merchandise of it. They're no different from the world, having all black parties and a celebration. You got rappers, chicks, with tight clothing on the stage in front of, you know, and they're not taking these Passover serious. I can't say this because we haven't had it yet, but when you look on previous years of these Israelite groups and their Passovers, and you see they don't take it serious, they think this is some fun and game time to be exalted, all right, to try to make merchandise off the people, all right, and they treat it no different from the individuals in the world, like if they were partying or clubbing or something like that. All kinds of fashion shows and all this ridiculousness, and they're not taking the Lord's Passover serious. And the Elazar situation is something because he was one of those, all right, groups, okay, holding these wild Passovers, and I can almost guarantee he has something crazy planned for this year, okay? And the Lord stopped it in its tracks. And he's not just, that group is not the only group. He's just the first of these groups who are teaching wayward doctrines. You think you're teaching things that are opposite of what the scriptures say, and you're thinking that you're getting away with this, and you're not, okay? And this Passover is very serious, okay? Every year, not just this year, every year. And coming up is also a blood moon over this Passover, and it's also going to fall on the Sabbath day. So you have three events taking place, two things which are within our, customs, which is the Sabbath day, as well as the Passover. But then you also have a sign from the heaven, which is the blood moon. Okay, and some of these camps, they're too carnal to realize what is happening. Okay, they can't see that the Eleazar situation, yeah, it was airing him out in a sense, which obviously he had coming, but also it was warning to everybody. All right, like you said, Scripture says, "Set your house in order." Okay, it was a warning to everybody. Okay, take me serious, take my Passover serious, take this truth serious. And you see a lot of these groups, they hold these crazy Passovers as if they were having some party in the world. And the Lord is not dealing. He says in Amos 5, he says, "I despise your feast days." And so those little get-togethers like some of these camps are holding, hey, the Lord is rejecting them. You may be getting away with having them, but you're not ultimately giving away. You're getting away at the moment, but there's a judgment that's going to come upon you if you don't repent. And so the Lord despises those things. What you call a feast day or a solemn assembly, what you call a Passover, that's not according to the Lord's Passover, according to the Scriptures. Okay. Um, and even when you go back to Joel 1, see if I can find what I'm looking for. Um, yeah, Joel 1. Look, sanctify ye a fast, call a solemn assembly. Gather the elders and all the inhabitants of the land into the house of Yahweh your power, and cry unto Yahweh. All right. It says, "Alas, for the day of Yahweh is at hand, and as a destruction from the Almighty shall it come." Is not, well, we don't have to read that. We just want 14 and 15, but that's the point though. Okay. We don't know what's gonna, because we have to wait. We all have to wait and see to see what the Lord does. But we know that the Lord always makes his move at an appointed time. All right, the visions are yet for an appointed time. Even his judgments. All right, they all have a set time where he's going to make a judgment. He's going to make a move. He's going to do this and do that. Okay, and so we're praying that this this Passover will begin to get another ball rolling, because we're ready to get out of here. All right, we're not taking this for a joke. All right, the Passover is a very serious assembly. As a matter of fact, let's go and continue on, because I don't want to talk too much. I want to get to my point here. So let's go to First Corinthians chapter 11. All right, starting at verse 18. So it says, "For first of all," let's read the NLT. Let's get the NLT. So First Corinthians 11 and 18 in the NLT, it says, "First, I hear that there are divisions among you when you meet as a church, and to some extent I believe it. But of course, there must be divisions among you that among you, so that you have God's approval. You who have the Most High's approval will be recognized." So these different guys, and this is why we constantly speak about discernment, praying to the Lord for discernment, because you have to understand it's all about, it's not, "Oh, I like how that brother teaches," or "I like what they're wearing," or "they got the numbers," or "they're marching, the ants go marching two by two, hurrah." No, you have to examine the doctrine. Okay, you got to look into what they're teaching, which causes you to do what? Study for yourself. You have to study for yourself to know what this person is teaching is true or false, or whatever the case may be. And so that's what you have to do when you're dealing with it, which we tell you not to anyways, to camp hop. All right, you come to Great Millstone. All right, take a seat, get comfortable. Okay, because you're in the right place. Now, I'm not saying that they're the only ones who just teach the truth. The thing is, once again, what I said, it's about the doctrine, right? You gotta, it doesn't matter who you listen to. If you examine their doctrine and it lines up with the scriptures, you should be okay. Because a lot of these camps, they teach a lot of truth, but it's not the 100% truth, because they have holes in their doctrine that teach you different things that are not according to the scriptures. It's according to what they think, right? Their fear towards me is sought by the precept of men. It's according to what they think. It's not according to sound doctrine. So you got to examine their doctrine. But these different camps are set up because it has to be a remnant and it has to be a 2/3. And that's really dealing with all Israel, but I'm making a point with this. Okay? Where it says, "But of course, there must be divisions among you, so that you who have God's approval will be recognized." So these different camps, where they're off doctrines, or they're telling these lies, or manipulating the scriptures, when you have discernment, you're able to see that. And then you'll go and look over here and be like, okay, well, this is different. Okay, so the Most High's got to be dealing with these guys, because these guys over here are saying that you can have sex on the Sabbath, or The Sabbath is not according to the new moon, or different things like that. You're able to discern these things and say, well, that's something off. That's not sound doctrine. You see, and then you're able to point out those who actually teach the scriptures and actually have sound doctrine according to everything written in the scriptures. See. So verse 20 says, when you meet together, you are not really interested in the Lord's Supper. And that's what they do. They get together, they party, they take it for a joke, they ride in on horses, they tote guns, they bring a niggerish feel to the Passover, and all these different things, right? When you meet together, you are not really interested in the Lord's Supper. For some of you, hurry to eat your own meal without sharing with others, which shows that you're not generous. All right, it's just I'm gonna get this first. All right, or it's some over there. I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna get this plate. All right, you can think about everyone else. It says as a result, some go hungry while others get drunk. You see, it says what? Don't you have your own homes for eating and drinking? Yeah, if you're that hungry, eat at home. All right, and then come out to the solemn assembly. But don't come out and be a ninja amongst the congregation. Or do you really want to disgrace the Most High's church and shame the poor? What am I supposed to say? Do you want me to praise you? Well, I certainly will not praise you for this. Verse 23, it says, for I pass on to you what I received from the Lord himself. On the night when he was betrayed, the Lord Yahushua took some bread and gave thanks to the Most High for it. Then he broke it in pieces and said, this is my body, which is given for you. Do this to remember me. All right, a solemn assembly, because he's about to make the greatest sacrifice in all history, the death of his own body and shedding of his own blood for the sake of his people. You see, all his people, okay, not just the remnant, for the 2/3 too. It's just that on this side, the remnant's going to perish because the 2/3 are coming back in the kingdom. His sacrifice was major. He died for the remnant of the nation of Israel, as well as for the 2/3, because they're going to be in the kingdom. But on this side, the only ones that matter that he died for were the remnant. All right, if you want to put it in perspective, okay, because the sacrifice was for all Israel, but the remnant are the only ones that matter. It says, in the same way, he took the cup of wine after supper, saying, this cup is the new covenant between the Most High and his people, in agreement confirmed with my blood. Do this to remember me as often as you drink it. See, it says this cup is the new covenant between the Most High and his people. And we're in the transition period. We're in the grace period in between the old covenant and the new covenant. All right. It says in agreement confirmed with my blood. You see, because how was the old covenant established? With blood of an animal sacrifice. Exodus 24. All right. And this carries over to the books of Hebrews as well. It says, do this to remember me as often as ye drink it. Meaning what? That solemn assembly that's held every year. Every year there's a Passover. As often as you will do this. Okay. It says, for every time you eat this bread and drink this cup, you are announcing the Lord's death until he comes. You see? And what are they doing? So it's like Yahushua's up on the cross and you got Israelites down there dancing, drinking wine and shit. That's what these Passovers are like with these other camps, man. Yahushua is up on the cross, giving his last breath, his sacrifice, and they're down there partying and drinking, right down there below him. See, you got to put it in perspective. So it says, for every time you eat this bread and drink this cup, you are announcing the Lord's death until he comes again. All right, it's a very serious matter. It says, so anyone who eats this bread or drinks this cup of the Lord unworthily is guilty of sinning against the body and blood of the Lord, because he said that what was it? Matter of fact, let's just keep reading because we'll go into it. So verse 28 says, that is why you should examine yourself before eating the bread and drinking the cup, because these are all symbolic of taking part, partaking in Yahushua's, sacrifice and partaking in the walk, all right, in this ministry. And it says what? It says, for if you eat the bread or drink the cup without honoring the body of the Messiah, you are eating and drinking the Most High's judgment upon yourself. You see? And when you get down to, matter of fact, because really the point was at 27, honestly. The point was in 27 because it talks about eating and drinking unworthily. As a matter of fact, let's do this so you can put it in perspective what I'm speaking of right here. So it's 27 through 29 says, "Wherefore, whosoever shall eat this bread and drink this cup of the Lord unworthily shall be guilty of the body and blood of the Lord." You see, because you have ones that say, they're down with this and down with that, and really it's only about personal gain and money and fame and women and things of that nature. You see, and it says, look, in an unworthy manner, it's just straightforward to the point. Unworthy manner, unworthy, look, unfit for a thing. And then the scripture said, "He that put his hands to the plow and looking bad is not what fit for the kingdom." You see, so when you partake in the Passover, it's a serious thing. All right, there's no look once you came to this ministry, anyways, or at least on the level of becoming a teacher. There's no coming back. All right, there's no coming back from that. Once you put your hands to the plow, there's no coming back. See, you in it. Okay, so it says, "But let a man examine himself, and so let him eat of that bread and drink of that cup." Yeah, because it says, if you're not able to finish the building, they're gonna mock. Okay, just paraphrasing what the scriptures say, right? Because everybody's gonna see that you weren't really cut out for this. All right, a lot of guys will fall out because they don't want to suffer. They don't understand that you may truly have to give your life for this. You may lose your family, your wife, your children, so on and so forth. Maybe even your job. You may lose everything you got, but it's for the namesake of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, for this ministry. See? For he that eateth and drinketh unworthily eateth and drinketh damnation to himself, not discerning the Lord's body. Let's get the word damnation. Crema, decree, judgment. See? Judgment, which is what? Death, man. The sentence of a judge, the punishment with which one is sentenced, um, condemnation of wrong, the decision, whether severe or mild, which one passes on the faults of others. Judgment, man, is straightforward. Death, man. Okay, because you went back to the world, man. All right. Look, to separate, put asunder, pick out, select, choose. None of those really. But excuse me. Yeah, you're gonna go back to the world, and basically you're a dog returning to its vomit, and you're gonna eventually be destroyed. Whether it's by the nuclear missiles at the end, or if you don't make it, then that means Jacob's trouble is gonna get you. You might get your head chopped off, or die some other kind of way. Maybe someone to eat you, or something. Right? You're gonna perish from this earth, and if you make it through Jacob's trouble, whatever condition you're in, you're gonna eat that nuclear missile. Okay? Which what our topic is centered around the Passover, but all those things line up. And we're gonna jump over here. We're gonna start to close it out real quick. Though before we do, we're gonna jump over here to Matthew 26. Matthew 26 and 26. Hold on. Here we go. It says, "And as the Lord's Supper instituted." All right. So we talked about example of what you see these other camps do. All right, versus those that truly reverence what this is about. Okay, understanding what they're a part of. All right, understanding what this represents. Okay, so here's the other side. It says, and as they were eating, Yahushua took bread and blessed it and brake it and gave it to his disciples, like Paul was just talking about, right? It says, and said, eat, this is my body. Right, the bread that he broke, this is my body. And he took the cup and gave thanks and gave it to them, saying, drink ye all of it, for this is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many for the remission of sins. You see, because that ultimate death on the cross is how he was going to solidify the act of bringing Israel back together with the Lord. That's why when you go into the other chapter, it mentions how the temple was rent. Okay, going back to the in the book of Exodus, where you had the veil, all right, that separated the Holy of Holies from the outer sanctuary, and that was separated from the whole entire outer courts. But the Holy of Holies is what I'm mentioning here, right? That veil, that was the separation, the middle wall of partition. When he died on the cross, he tore down the middle wall of partition. He made it possible for us to actually seek the Lord's mercy. But through him and through his sacrifice, through the blood that he shed, And when you see men doing these crazy Passovers, they're not reverencing that sacrifice that Yahweh made. See, it's all about them. Look, release from bondage or imprisonment, forgiveness or pardon of sins. And who can sin? Israelites. Well, other nations can't have sins, but we're talking about who can sin against the Lord. Israelites only. Letting them go as if they had never been committed. Remission of the penalty. You see, and this is what we hope for, because this is that way to salvation that Ezekiel 9:4. That mark of exemption, be exempt from judgment. It says, "But I say unto you, I will not drink henceforth of this fruit of the vine until that day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom." All right. So that was the last, solemn, assembly that Yahushua had with his disciples, because he was there for several years. So of course he did the Passover every year, and other, high holy days. He did those every year, but this was the final one. This Passover was the final one, because it was symbolic of him and his sacrifice that he was about to go through, because that was his purpose, his ultimate purpose. Okay. And when they had sung a hymn in him, they went out into the Mount of Olives. And they wasn't singing no church songs and stuff, because those hymns going to Psalms 113 through 18 and 136, I believe it is. We'll put it in perspective. Yep. So he's singing a paschal hymns. These were Psalms 113 through 118 and Psalms 136, which Jews call the great. It says Hallel, but it should be Halal, Halal, which means praise. All right. So great praise. How do you say great? Gadawala Halal. All right. Great praise. All right. So yeah, just something, let me see what is here. Well, we need the word him, so we really need this. Yeah. See. So yeah, just a quick hitter, how serious the Passover is, understanding that the Israelites were not in a festive manner. And for those of you that are new and you don't quite have the spirit of discernment, you see, the great millstone and those that teach the, like-minded doctrine and the 100% true doctrine, and then you may see other camps. Well, take these things that I mentioned, all right, in this video, and observe these other camps. See what they talk about, see what they teach, see what they're about. All right, they're up there debating when they should be teaching the gospel. Some of these guys don't go to the streets and teach anymore. Okay, you have guys that take their Passover and make it as some club thing. Okay, examine these things. All right, and through examining those people, like we read in First Corinthians 11, by examining those individuals by what they do with which is adverse to the scriptures, you'll be able to point out those who are actually teaching 100% true doctrine, and really are serious about this thing. All right, so Lord willing, you will edify to next time. Y'all, I'm going to say shalom.